When I'm not testing out the online Wu-Tang Clan name generator, Expert Merc likes to answer questions that Expert Merc gets on YouTube, so let's get to it. The Pete Best question has me asking, I know you hate pop music, but what about the Beatles? I never really hear you talk about them. What's your opinion on the world's most famous band? Hating the Beatles would really take contrarianship to an entirely new level. So yeah, I like the Beatles. I dig the Beatles for sure. Used to be way into the Beatles. And that kind of begs the question, like, whose camp are you in, the Beatles or the Rolling Stones? Which I think is kind of stupid that you can't like both. But I do understand the spirit of the question, and it's actually kind of funny. The Beatles were one of the first, like, good bands that I got into. I remember I won the #1 CD with, like, the red and orange cover of, like, all the Beatles #1 hits when I was, like, 12 or 13 at, like, some kind of, like, gift exchange thing. And that definitely changed my life as far as like listening to like decent music for the first time. So I really discovered them at a great time in my life, and they really kind of got me into music. But I do have to say, as I get older, I kind of like the Rolling Stones a little bit more. So if I have to choose, I think I'm becoming more of a Rolling Stones guy than a Beatles guy. That being said, I definitely do listen to my fair share of Beatles. I think they're fantastic. The production elements of their songs still sound so good. I was actually just listening to Magical Mystery Tour this week, and it just sounds so cool. Which, I do want to talk for a quick second about Ringo Starr and how historically he's almost become like underrated, because it seems like a lot of people give him crap for not like adding like polyrhythms or whatever they want like a drummer for the Beatles to do. I think he's just such a solid drummer that just locked it down and did exactly what was needed for a lot of those songs. I think Magical Mystery Tour is like a great example of just kind of minimalistic but like solid drumming with just like tasty fills. So I for one am a big Ringo fan. I love all those guys. I still would say that Paul is my favorite Beatle. But definitely, yeah, I know that's not really the question. I don't know why I'm talking about the Rolling Stones, but for some reason, the older I get, the more I gravitate more towards the Stone stuff. But again, still a big Beatles fan. Why do we only talk about a key being major or minor? We've chosen in our system of music to define a key as the notes in a given major scale. If I'm playing centered on A minor, I'm still playing in the key of C. If I'm playing G mixolydian, I'm still playing in C. If I'm playing D Dorian, I'm still playing in C. Phrygian and E, still C. Do we treat Aeolian as though it's its own thing because it's so common? This is a really great question that kind of pertains to modes, right? So again, major scale is kind of like the king scale of all Western music. 7 notes in the major scale. Each one of those notes can be its own scale in the same order, right? So like if I have C major, all I do is start on the second note. That would be D. And that would be D Dorian. But this question is asking like, why isn't a piece really referred to as being in D Dorian when we say it's in C major, or we say it's in A minor, Aeolian being the 6th mode? Because most of the time, if you're talking about like what key a piece is in, you'll say it's either in something major or something minor. We rarely do say it's in mixolydian, it's in Dorian, it's in any other modes. And as far as I've always understood it, it's because most of Western music, what we think sounds good to us, you know, depending on where you were born, major and minor are the 2 most commonly used scales. Again, major is kind of the king scale that everything comes from. Minor, I guess, would be the least dissonant of the minor modes, okay? So there's 3 minor modes: Dorian, Phrygian, and Aeolian. Aeolian is the one that kind of just got stepped up to be like the most important of those minor modes. And again, like I said, the way I've always thought of it or had it explained to me is because it's just like the harmony of how we kind of build chords in Western music. So for example, in any key, whether it's in major or minor, the 5 chord is generally referred to as the 2nd most important chord. Okay, so like in the key of C major, C, D, E, F, G. C is 1, G is 5, the dominant, which brings you back to 1. Okay, you could be in those same 7 notes, but in A minor. If your tonal center is minor, right? Then we can, even though we're in the key of C, you can think of being in A minor, where A is 1, A, B, C, D, E. The E minor chord, or even the E7 chord, would be your 5 chord. So A minor, 5, or dominant will lead you back to 1. Now the thing about the minor modes is, like, let's take the 3 chord, or the 3 mode in the key of C, C, D, E, it would be E Phrygian, okay? If you're using that same group of chords, and E was your 1 chord, your 5 chord would actually be a diminished, which is a less stable chord that kind of doesn't really resolve you back on the 1, so that kind of rules out Phrygian. Now, again, I never totally understood why Dorian didn't really kind of have the same appeal as maybe minor, but I think this is kind of the way it shook out, so that's why we think of the 6th chord, the natural minor mode, Aeolian mode, as being the minor scale that we kind of base stuff off of. If anybody has anything to this conversation, again, I don't pretend to know like everything, how Western music was developed and why we think about these things, please add it to the comments and maybe start a dialogue about it. Sean, I'm watching all your videos. Where is a good starting point? I learned from each lesson and want to connect the lessons in their respective order to make the most of your teaching. So this is a great question I've been thinking a lot about, which is why I've been devoting a lot of time into getting my website set up, because there's only so much you can do with YouTube playlists, and the way that I kind of treat the lessons is I kind of just jump around, and maybe I'll just have something I'm thinking of or something that I'm teaching person that I see that I think would make a good lesson, and there isn't really like a linear progression that you can do and really organize in a super effective way on YouTube. So I'm really going to put a lot of effort into my website because it's time to start taking things more seriously. And when I say taking things more seriously, it's really just adding one more thing that I'm not taking seriously. So in that vein, I'm actually thinking I'm going to start a newsletter, and I'm thinking about calling it the Bluesletter, but I'm not sure if I want to stick with that. I don't know, but I think my goal for it is to just kind of have it be something funny where I can maybe recap everything that happened over the month and just kind of structure and organize things. I've already got a thing set up on the homepage of my website, which I'll link to. It's just SeanDanielMusic.com. And like, I'm not going to try to like spam you, sell you like a bunch of crap or whatever. I'm just thinking maybe the end of every month, I have news you can use, Bluesletter, recap, what went down. I'll have like an advice column. Maybe I'll write a few words. I'll have maybe like a golden sub of the month that I can feature. I'll probably do like a giveaway or something just to kind of like get more email addresses. But definitely get on board because you're not going to want to miss the first Bluesletter. This is an odd question, but if you had to play only one of the two for the rest of your life, what would it be? Guitar or bass? First of all, I love playing bass, especially like in a live setting in a band. I actually kind of have had the most fun just playing bass, sitting in the pocket, doing my thing. It's kind of like the most chill of the instruments to play live, just the way I play it. But I mean, the answer has to be guitar. It's just gotta be. F you! Bass is 10 times better than guitar. Leave it to a guy with the name Mushroom Vortex to come up with a statement that like absolutely nobody would ever agree with. Mushroom Vortex. Have you ever thought about creating a Spotify playlist dedicated to your listening homework segment? I have thought about it, and I have done that this week. So took me a while, but I added pretty much everything on listening homework. Some of the stuff was live stuff that I replaced with kind of like things. But I've got a Spotify playlist up. I'll link you down there too. I was actually concerned that maybe it would be a little disjointed listening to it, but actually I've been kind of jamming on it, and it actually flows kind of nicely considering how varied the music is. But yeah, feel free to check out the listening homework Spotify playlist below. Why do you never change your strings on your acoustic? To which a great sub replied, they are the infinity strings. Thanos will come and take them in April. Stay tuned. Yeah, I'll take that one on the chin. I mean, I'm just bad about changing my strings in general. I'm like the most low maintenance human being on the world. Like, changing strings seems a lot more difficult than it is. Once I finally get around to it, it's like, oh, thank God. But a lot of it is because I have several guitars, so I can't be expected to change all the strings on all these guitars in a timely fashion. Like the guitars I play live, they actually probably get changed in a relatively timely manner. But this one, yeah. I'm thinking April is probably time to trade these babies out. But in my defense, I use the coated elixirs on the Taylor, and they flake off a little bit easier, but I still think they sound good. So even though they kind of look like they're worn, I still think they sound good, and you know, there's nothing you can do about it. So for listening homework this week, I'm gonna throw you to one of my favorite Beatles deep tracks, possibly my favorite Beatles song, Cry Baby Cry. Really underrated song. I think it's fantastic. And if you have any questions or comments, hit me up in the comment section, Instagram, Twitter, or the newly revamped website. I'll talk to y'all soon. Thanks a lot.